Hi there. Guess what we're going to start doing today? We're going to start writing a book, and for you plotters out there, we're going to start doing an outline for a book so you can start writing your book. For all those of you who don't know me, my name's Lisa Oliver. I have written about 80 paranormal romances where they have fated mates, and my characters are wolf shifters and vampires and everything else in between, and I love living in the fantasy world. But for today, we're going to have a look at how you can plot your story, which is a very good way of starting your book, your new novel. Now, full disclaimer, I don't plot my stories. I am a pantser, and there will be a video about how to pantser your stories and just wing it. And it'll be a lot shorter than this one, I'll tell you that now. But in the meantime, for a lot of people, they get a lot of security and confidence from having planned out their story before they write it. So let's look at what we've got here. How to start writing your book for a plotter. This is you. So I have got some headings here. We've got suggested title, our synopsis, we have got characters, and we have got a word count guide, and we've got some conflict points, and then we have our outline itself. And I'm going to suggest to you that this system of plotting out your story will work for anybody regardless of genre. It doesn't have to be a romance. It can be a mystery story. It could be a science fiction story. It could be a historical story. It doesn't matter. These basic things here, your title, synopsis, your characters, your word count guide, and your conflict points, internal and external, and an outline of what's going to happen roughly in each chapter is a really good way to start before you start writing the meat and bones of the story itself. So, as you can see here, I have written untitled for now. Now, it is really common. It's going to depend on what sort of author you are. For a lot of authors, when you might have an idea for a story and you might decide, oh, well, yes, I'm going to call it such and such. But then it changes because your title, you want your title to be relevant to what the story is. And a lot of the times you can't actually work out the guts of your stories until you are halfway through writing them. So there is nothing wrong with putting untitled for now. I simply know it's going to go, this particular one as my example is going to go in my Alpha and Omega series. Now, if you are really pedantic about the title, like it's really important to you, then talk it over with friends, or chances are there may be a title that actually resonates with you, in which case that's where you put it. You've now got your title, and if you're going to write a series, and please say yes, because series is a really good way of helping promote your sales when you're a self-published author, then add that in there as well. So you could have The Gopher and the Dragonfly, Encounters in Nature, Book 1, or whatever, offering a really unusual example there, but it doesn't really matter what you put in that bit, because that bit can be subject to change. Now, the synopsis, which is just, this is not your blurb, this is just the idea that snagged you, that made you want to write this book in the first place. So that's what I'm using the word synopsis for in this instance. So in my thing, I've got a larger-than-life Amiga who has a particularly stressful job, and then he has to find time to juggle meeting a fated mate in the middle of it. I had it in my head. I sort of had this picture in my head, and I could kind of see this scene where this guy is sort of very important and he's being pressured to do all these things, and he sees his mate, but he can't do anything about it, and that's kind of where this is coming from. So that's what I've just written there, is just enough for me to know that that's roughly where the story's going to go. Now, again, this can be as detailed or as vague as you like, so long as you know, like you feel comfortable with what you've written in there. And again, you're doing this in Word, so you can always change it. That's the neat thing with Word. But this bit here, this bit's the important bit. People love plots, and a lot of new authors in particular spend a lot of time crafting the most amazing plot. But if you don't have the characters to enact those plots, then the story is going to fall flat. So it is really important, whether you have one character or 20. I don't recommend 20, I'm just saying. But it's really important that you have an idea on who your characters are. So in this instance, I am not writing out whole character sheets here. I know some authors who do. And it's a really good idea if you're going to be reusing your characters in other books, particularly across a series. But for me, this is going to be a standalone story. Please don't laugh, readers. I do my best. It's a running joke with me and my lovely readers that I have in my private Facebook group, that they reckon I can't write a standalone, but I'm getting better at it. But anyway, okay, so in this instance, we've got Charlie. He's an Amiga wool shifter. He works for a cosmetic company in a lab. He's on a tight deadline to present, it'll be something like wrinkle cream or something else, that's probably cosmetic rather than life-changing. And he eats hokey pokey ice cream and marshmallows when he's stressed. Putting in points like that about your character helps show that he's human, that he's got a bit of depth. Although, okay, they're going to say, what sort of depth have you got in eating ice cream? But that's a point that people will remember about this character. And they will, not only that, but they will think, oh my God, hokey pokey ice cream and marshmallows, ew, yuck. Or they may go, hey, hokey pokey and marshmallows actually sounds like a cool idea. So they endear the reader, little facts like that, endear the reader to the character. So these little points are important. He often sleeps in the lab. His best friend is Emma. I don't know anything about Emma yet, but it just sounds right. He's got a best friend called Emma, and he wants to combat serious skin diseases. I don't know why or how he's pressured into his job. Then I've got a brief description. He doesn't like being tall. He's quite skinny, tall and skinny. He's going to be a nice guy. And then our alpha wolf shifter is very laid back. He likes being his job as a bounty hunter. He never stays in one place for very long. He likes reading bodice rippers in his spare time. Those books with Fabio on the cover. And he travels with his dog called Wolfie because he thinks that name is funny. He's well built. He's like a tank, 6'4", blonde hair, square chin, dark brown eyes, and a scar by his lip and a tattoo of a black rose on his wrist. I don't know about on his wrist, but he'll have a tattoo somewhere because I'm quite fond of my tattoo characters. But again, you're looking at something that will make him memorable. So, it's really difficult in the paranormal romance genre because wolf shifters are very typecast. They're very cliched. So I like to try and add something in his personality or in something that he does to make him different, make him a little bit, make him stand out. Now, I've put here, we go on to the next thing. In here, however many main characters you have, you want to have them listed here and filled out a little bit, or at least a little bit, in their relationship to each other and everything else before you go ahead and write the outline. So do that, please. And then we have got our word count guide. Now, I do have a video that talks about how long your book should be, your self-published book should be. So you can check that out. It'll be on one of the corners up here. My books range in length from novellas at 30,000 words through to novels at 90,000. I like to do a minimum of 50,000 words for my Alpha and Omega series. So, I put down 50,000. Now, for 50,000 words, that equates to 20 chapters at 2,500 words each, or 2,000 words each, which makes nice short little chapters. But you can change this to whatever you feel more comfortable with. If you're not sure, because again, this can be changed, but if you're not sure, then just turn around and put 50,000, because it's a nice middle ground. It really doesn't matter if you go over or under. Okay? Now, as you know, the other thing in a story, any story at all, is you need to have the conflict. Like, every story has to have a conflict. Every story is characters either trying to achieve something or overcome something. So, and this can be either internal, like a mental issue, or something that they are dealing with themselves, an emotional or spiritual issue. And then there are external conflict points where, people are trying to attack them, they're trying to kill them, they're trying to hurt them, or they're trying to marry them off to somebody, or whatever else. So here, I don't know what Charlie's issue is with his job yet, but for some reason he feels like he's obligated to stay there. Maybe his father owns a company or something, or his mother, who knows. I guess I'll find out when I write, although I'm supposed to be plotting this. But anyway, I feel the conflict point for Charlie is to do with his job, and for Mac, he likes the idea of travelling and being all over the place, and he's never seen himself as somebody who's sort of settling down. So for them two to be a couple, this is at odds. These things are at odds. Charlie can't go and travel with Mac, if he feels he has to stay at his job. But can Mac give up his love of travelling all over the place to settle down and be with Charlie? And if he did, what on earth would he do with himself? Because he's hardly a lab worker. So there you go. So there's an example of a conflict point internally. But then externally, Charlie's still got something to do with his job, and I'm not sure what it is, but I've added it in there. He doesn't have to have an external point, conflict point, because Mac here has got one. He's been chasing somebody for a long time. Somebody's escaped from jail. Mac is supposed to find him, or is he? Who is this person to him? Blah blah blah. You could create a lot of scenarios from that one angst point. But the whole point, when a book is paced, you have your beginning, where everything is set up and your main characters meet. Then you've got your middle, where things come together, and you've got a couple of little subplot points that are addressed, and things work out or don't. But then it's all building up and working up to this main conflict point, which comes at the end of the book, where your characters will either prevail and have a happily ever after, or they'll all die. Depends on what sort of ending you were looking for. But so this is what we've got so far. You know roughly what your book's going to be about. You know roughly, you've got some bare bone minimums of what you've got for your characters. As I say, you could take these things and build it out into huge page-long synopses about each character if you wanted. But for me, that is enough. You've got a rough idea of your word count, and that's important only when it comes to pacing your story on the outline. And then you've got the couple of things that you're going to resolve in the book, because my book is a romance, so of course these characters are going to interact with each other, and these things need to be resolved for my couple to have their happily ever after. So then we go to the outline, and as you can see, you've got here the first 5 chapters. This comes in with the word count guide again. So on my first 5 chapters are where they will meet, and the differences will be aired. The last 5 chapters, let's hop to the last 5 chapters, is where the story is all going to wind up and they're going to win. And then we've got the bit in the middle, which gets our characters from that set to that set. And this set is actually particularly important because a lot of books and a lot of authors suffer from the saggy middle syndrome, and it's got nothing to do with their bellies from sitting down all day. It's got to do with trying to get their characters from their exciting to their beginning to their equally exciting end by jumping over a soggy middle but not rushing it. Now, tomorrow we will go through we'll come up with some ideas on what to fill this in, so I can show you a completed outline. But the thing is that you can do something as simple as just Charlie is in his lab, his co-worker says a cousin is dropping by for lunch. The co-worker of her cousin is Mac. And then in chapter 2, Mac realizes Charlie is his mate, but finds out Charlie is pretty much tied to the lab and couldn't leave. And then we've got chapter 3 would be Charlie and Mac go on a date. Not quite sure. It will be, and wonder if they are really suited. They leave separately. And then we've got where are we? So we're going Charlie, Mac, Charlie and Mac. So it'll be Charlie has an accident in the lab and goes home in a mess. Someone is threatening him job wise. And then Mac gets the call about the jailbreak and worries about Charlie. Now, this is just being done as an example. You can have, like as in above with the character things here, you can have as many as, like you could write a dozen bullet points for each chapter if that made you feel more comfortable. But here, even just writing a couple of sentences, it gives you a structure, it gives your story a structure. Because I have 2 characters and I write in dual point of view, that means I have one scene with Charlie, then another scene with Mac, then another scene with Charlie, then another scene with Mac, so that the reader gets to see the point of view from both characters. That's why I've written my outline like that. But if you have, it's going to depend a lot again on your point of view. If you have 5 characters, it might not be feasible to show 5 different points of view. Maybe your story is narrated instead by a third-party narrator. Or maybe one of the characters is a first-person narrator, and the entire story is told from his point of view, and his friends are just there, and the only interaction the reader has with the friends is what your one central character sees or thinks of them. But when you're writing your outline, this is going to reflect your point of view. So this is why I've written mine like this. So if you're looking for homework, because you see this up here, how to start writing your book. That's what this is about. I have got videos on barriers you might have to writing. I have got videos on how long your book should be. But if you want to write a book, you need to start. So you can either go with this plotting system or watch for my video, for my next video, which will be on how to start writing your book as a pantser. It's both easier and harder all at the same time. If you did like this content, my friends, please hit the like and subscribe button before you go off and open your new Word document and start doing the story. And it doesn't have to be Word. You can do it in Notepad. You can do it in Pages on Mac. You can do it on Google Documents if you prefer. But if you have been waiting to start your book, today is the day you're going to start it. So start planning, start plotting, and drop a comment for me down below and let me know the suggested title for your new book. I can't wait to hear about it. So hit like and subscribe, check out the videos that I've mentioned to you, and have the ones you love, my friends. We will catch you in the next video. Bye.